Hey, it's Phil. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with Skye Jitani.
Hello.
Hi. You're wearing black again.
So are you.
But last week you weren't wearing a jacket. Drew was wearing a jacket last week, right? He was wearing a black jacket. You were just wearing black.
Well, now you know. I've killed him and taken his jacket.
No, you're wearing a black jacket and he's somewhere just wearing black. And wait a minute, who are you?
I'm Christian Taylor and so happy to be back.
Christian Taylor's
and
back.
I don't have on black.
And that is salmon, that is...
It's just pink.
Pink.
Just
salmon-y pink.
It's a little on the coral. It's
I'm
coral,
back,
I think.
and I'm bringing the color.
Bring in the color.
Yeah,
I
you
like
guys
to think
looked
I do.
As always.
really boring last week. Hey, you do have white on. I'll give you that. He doesn't even have that on.
I was meaning the diversity.
And you're partly, I was going to say you're partly non-Caucasian.
That's right.
So I guess that's some color. I don't know if we had another request from Anthony to sing as an obscure voice from VeggieTales in the House, but I don't remember what it was, and it was really obscure. These like little shadings on characters.
Somebody wanted you to sing it as a Morgan Freeman.
Being like relaying secret
with
information.
A lisp?
Yeah, I don't know. That was Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, the Samuel Jackson with a
do it with a lisp.
Yes.
The Daffy Duck version.
Samuel L. Jackson, the sinister, evil genius behind the end of Western civilization in the new movie, The Kingsman.
Which you should not see.
Secret Service, which I do not recommend for your consumption. Hey, it's a podcast. What do you know? Hey, it's a podcast. And we got video. Hey, it's a podcast. So land in here. Samuel L. Jackson has a podcast right here. We'll talk to Skye and Christian too. Because she's back with us, though her back is black and blue.
This is true.
Is it black and blue?
Very much so.
All right. Hey, it's a podcast. So engineer. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. I'm going to take over the world and get rid of all the silly people and start again. And I'm evil.
Very intimidating.
I know. Isn't that just sets the tone for evil?
That's so weird.
I know. It was anyway. Very bizarre. Someone else responded and said that they had mistakenly seen the film and completely agreed that it was surprisingly.
Oh, someone agreed with you?
No.
Just kidding.
Hey. Just because you were gone for 2 weeks
doesn't mean I can't pick on you.
You can start throwing tomatoes.
But it does reveal that she listened to that podcast.
She did.
Oh, I wanted to thank Anthony.
Yes.
Because Anthony spent a lot of time finding all the podcasts I was never on and sent me a list. And I did not listen to them or watch them, but I did take the hint and I watched last week's podcast. So I will now, going forward.
Because you were immobile and stuck in bed.
That's true.
The only option.
So tell us about your adventure. What did they do to your back?
Well, what happened was I had a cyst in my fourth vertebra and a bunch of other stuff in there that they had to cut out because it was cutting off.
A cyst and other stuff.
Like arthritis and thickening ligaments. And it wasn't pretty.
All in the same place?
Yep. And so that was why whenever I would sit here on the podcast, I couldn't really sit well because it was cutting off my leg. And so they cut all that out and they fused the fourth and fifth one together with big screws and things like that. And then they stapled my back up.
Oh,
and
how big was the incision?
Like 11 staples, like it's pretty big.
Wow, so if you're listening, you don't know what she just signified with her hands, but it was about 10 inches, I'd say.
I don't know.
Really, that big?
Mom,
that big?
right?
My
mom's in the audience.
Christian's mom is in the audience because Christian's not allowed to drive.
Or pick up anything. Yeah.
Or drive and pick up anyone.
Yes.
I can't do that either.
Right. Yeah, so her mom is driving
she's
her
been
around.
taking care of my back. I haven't technically seen it myself, but I do know.
But you hear that it's back there.
I hear it's back, and there's lots of these big staples which come out Tuesday. And, there were so many people praying for me and encouraging me, and the surgery was amazingly easy, and the anesthesiologist needs an Academy Award. I woke up without having to wake up.
Because they were pretending to be an anesthesiologist?
No, that's true. Maybe not that, but some sort of award because it was just, I woke out of a gentle sleep. And I walked within a few hours around, and I just had complications.
Did your back come with you?
My back did, yeah.
Okay,
and I didn't really hurt, and I've been off painkillers since Sunday. So,
wow.
Yeah, now I'm supposed to walk a mile to 2 miles every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Are you doing that?
I'm up to a mile.
Do you get one of those little like Fitbit kind of things?
My mother brought one, and I'm going to be borrowing that until I
that's
can
an
get my
endorsement,
Apple Watch.
Your Apple Watch?
I've been waiting and waiting for the Apple Watch.
You're gonna go that way, huh?
I am. I'm going to be an early adapter.
Wearables.
Adopter.
Or an adopter. Thanks,
Adapter?
Bill.
Adopter.
So anyway, thank you all for praying. There were also listeners that
What
tweeted
was the highlight
me.
of your adventure?
The highlight
Any
of
really
my adventure.
cute doctors?
It had nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's
Okay.
that I am going to cry saying this, but
Okay.
my dad came
Yeah.
to be with me in the hospital, and then my husband's father came.
Oh, wow.
But truly, the highlight is that my mom is here.
Oh.
And she's only been to visit one time in the 18 years that we've lived here.
Wow.
And we just haven't been able to be around each other very much. And so she's been here taking care of me like I was little.
Yeah.
And so that's soul nurturing. And then we spent yesterday organizing my kitchen and doing things that moms normally do with their daughters.
Right.
And since we live so far away and we haven't had that opportunity, it's been a huge blessing.
Yay, ding the bell
So-
for mom.
Yeah.
Well, we're not
Moms
selling
are
her.
awesome.
Ding, 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 ding. We're celebrating.
We're promoting her.
We're
Got it.
celebrating.
Anyway, thank you for asking. That's very
Okay,
kind.
well,
And thank you, listeners, for all the
everyone
notes
wanted
and
to know.
texts and things like that.
Well, you're back sooner than we expected, which is
Yes.
great for the podcast.
A miracle.
So does it?
Oh yeah, if I sit funny, I
Yeah.
have this tight-fitting,
She's
very
wearing a
hard
corset.
plastic
She's
corset.
wearing a corset.
Which now I know why those women liked it.
Really?
They cinched you in, and it makes you feel skinny and tall, and impervious to anything in your midsection.
Yeah. All right. You can,
So I'm kind of
That's
liking
why
it.
Batman wears one.
time to take up fencing.
Right. Maybe.
Okay. Okay, we have some great stories. Can I just say we got some great stories?
Really? Are you
today?
being facetious
We'll
or
be the
for
judge
real?
of that, Phil.
It seems like in the last few weeks, what with all the ISIS and everything, it's gotten a little dark.
Very,
It's
I
gotten a
would
little
say.
dark.
Sure.
So we've
And
got
scary.
some good stories
Lighthearted.
today. This is new. This is news.
New news?
Yes. If you're praying for your fajitas and they explode on your face, it isn't Applebee's fault.
Oh, no.
Just say that.
Where are we
A
going with
New
this
Jersey appellate court says a man cannot seek damages for burns he suffered while bowing his head in prayer over a sizzling steak fajita skillet at Applebee's.
Did he bow all the way down to the
Into
skillet?
the skillet?
Well, fajitas, they come out
Yeah.
hot.
They pop.
They sizzle. So he was at Applebee's.
Yeah.
The waitress brought his fajitas, put them in front of him. He bowed his head over the fajitas to pray, and something popped in the fajita sizzles, and he felt something hot hit his eye. So it popped hot grease on his face.
Was he praying with his eyes open?
I don't
'Cause then
think
he
so.
Probably deserved it.
I don't think so. If you don't shut your eyes, you're going to get attacked by
You
your
mean we're not
fajitas.
really Christians if we pray with our eyes open?
I'm joking, of course.
And then it startled him so much that he jerked back and knocked the entire plate of fajitas into his lap.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, it got worse.
It got worse.
Definite escalation of
So-
badness.
And he tried to sue Applebee's?
He sued
That
Applebee's.
doesn't...
Well, wait a second. There's precedence here for the woman who sued
The
McDonald's.
old woman in the coffee. Yeah, he said his claim was that the waitress did not alert him that the fajitas were hot.
Same argument.
Can you not hear them
What does
sizzling?
sizzle mean?
And certainly he's ordered fajitas before.
Don't ask
so
him to pray while you're cooking
Where
bacon.
was this? Not, I know it was at Applebee's.
New
but
Jersey.
New Jersey. See, you can't go there.
You're
There's
blaming it on New Jersey?
No, I'm saying if he was in some like backwater place that this was the first Mexican food he'd ever seen,
Yeah.
maybe.
Are fajitas actually Mexican?
I don't know.
Well, they're
Tex-Mex?
definitely Hispanic.
So A is good that he was praying for his meal. And I could give him 2 points for that. B, though, he gets a demerit for sticking his face really close to a sizzling skillet. And-
So he loses a point.
So he loses a point.
So now he has one.
But the ultimate one is then placing the blame on the restaurant and
Right.
suing them.
Instead of taking personal
You know,
responsibility.
I think this whole story is and this is the first time hearing it, but it sounds to
Yeah.
me like a perfect encapsulation of America.
What in the world do you
Skye.
mean? Like,
Tell us.
I mean,
Please.
you have
Tell us.
the ethnically diverse cuisine, right?
Yeah,
the
right.
melting pot
Right.
nature of our culture.
Uh-huh.
You have a religious angle on it.
Yes. We pray. We believe
pray,
in God.
we believe in prayer.
Yeah.
And then we have blaming someone else for our misfortune,
boy, he really summed it up.
right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So lack of personal, individual responsibility combined with cultural religiosity combined with ethnic foodiology.
Well, more like ethnics. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah, we'll go there.
Okay.
Foodiology.
So
is that your
how
word?
would we react differently if it was a Muslim kneeling in prayer over Chinese food, and the same thing happened?
Chinese don't serve on a skillet.
It's a
In a wok.
What if you got poked with a
chopstick.
A chopstick
Yeah,
that was
he
sticking
leaned
out
over
of the,
and, and said, "I didn't know you had chopsticks."
Right.
Now, would we say, "Oh, well, that's you think there's any bias because this was a Christian?" See, I'm actually more mad at this guy because he was a Christian. And that wasn't
Exactly.
Do you think the court
Christ-like.
ruling? What did the court rule? That Applebees
court-
is innocent here, right?
Yes, the court ruled that the food posed an open and obvious danger. In other
Clear and
words-
present danger.
Yes, it was clear and present.
It's usually after I eat Mexican food that I learn that.
These fajitas. So it should, if you're at Applebee's or Bennigan's or Chili's or wherever else you might find fajitas present themselves as a thing of danger.
You know, one thing you learn when you have little children, like baby children,
Don't get fajitas.
Is there
at a
any
restaurant.
what you learn?
Well, you know, like little children.
Okay.
Not big children.
Little ones.
Little ones.
I'm with you.
Toddler types at a table.
Miniature children?
Yeah, the small ones.
Okay.
You don't get fajitas.
No.
Because it's just
There's too much.
It's too high of a risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an inherently dangerous food.
Right. And if something is sizzling
Right.
and it's time to pray, would you really see yourself closing your eyes and leaning into the sizzle?
This man should not order baked Alaska.
But look, here's the thing. We're getting off topic as usual. And where is the verse that says that we shouldn't go to court? Does that only apply
Well, against each other.
Yeah, does
That's
that
in
only
fir-
apply against each
That's
other?
in 1
Yeah.
Corinthians.
Well, still-
Fajitas would
6,
have to
I
be
think, 5 and
Christian.
6.
Right. But still, I think it's sort of silly. It's saying, I want to see if I can get money.
Yeah.
It's what it sounds like at the end of the day.
I don't like it. I'm not happy with this guy.
Yeah.
Well, the courts back you up though. They didn't give him
You
money.
made your bed. I know, but it was a bad witness already to go to Applebee's and say, hey, I was praying and your fajita burned
You know what?
me.
I think
I'm
eating at
taking you to
Applebee's
court."
is a bad witness.
Oh, come on.
What's
I
our
ate
next story?
I ate at Applebee's last
Next
week.
story. Moving on.
I ate at Applebee's last week.
Did you leave uninjured?
I did. I don't remember what
Good
I
for
got,
you,
but
Phil.
it did not sizzle. I tend to purchase food that is finished.
not gonna hurt you?
That's finished cooking when it leaves the
So
kitchen.
you don't like hibachi?
No, oh, no.
Imagine what he would have done there.
I know.
He could
over
have-
an open grill. I hope he
Yeah.
doesn't barbecue.
Right. Or at least not pray over
Story
it.
2 is
Okay. Now we turn our attention to science. We've got a couple of great science stories.
All right.
Science has given us something that we've been dying for.
What?
This Easter, just in time for Easter.
I've seen this one.
Did you see
Yeah.
this?
I didn't. What is it?
How's this science?
Because science does things like this. Peeps flavored milk.
What?
Yeah.
Prairie Farms, the dairy, is releasing Peeps flavored milk for spring. Starting the first week of March. Hey, what
How
week
do they
is
milk
it?
a peep?
Wait a minute. I thought Peeps. The only thing about Peeps
milk of
is
Peeps.
are marshmallows just wrapped in sugar, colored sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they taste like marshmallow with a lot of sugar.
This was written up in Time magazine online. Starting the first week of March, Peeps milk will be available in 3 flavors.
Strawberry.
No. Marshmallow milk.
Okay, well that makes sense.
So the first Peeps flavor is marshmallow.
Okay.
The second Peeps flavor is chocolate marshmallow. Which I guess it's not a Peep. Although if you've ever gone to a Peep store where they have like every Peep
I don't go to peep stores.
There's
Knew
a
that
Peep
was
store in
coming.
the Mall of America. There's a Peep store. I've been to.
A
Seriously?
whole store for
Do they
Peeps?
have a show?
No, there's no show. Oh. No.
I've never
there's
seen
no
a
show.
chocolate Peep.
You can get regular Peeps dipped in chocolate.
You can get anything.
That's like a double whammy.
It's a little
in
too
America,
much.
you can get anything dipped in chocolate.
You can get fajitas dipped
Can
in
you
chocolate.
get them
can.
fried, deep fried, dipped in
Yes,
chocolate?
wrapped in
Only at a
bacon.
county
Right.
fair.
Bacon-infused chocolate-dipped Peeps. That's what I'm holding out
man.
for.
All right.
And then the
Third flavor?
third flavor is reduced-fat Easter eggnog.
What?
There's not a Peep.
I don't think that has anything
That's
to
a
do
stretch.
with Peeps. And Time
Wait a
Magazine
minute.
concludes by saying, all of which sound more flavorful than regular Peeps, which generally tend to taste like plain sugar.
That's
that's
my
why I
point.
Wait,
like-
back up. Is eggnog an Easter thing?
No.
No, it's a Christmas
it's
thing.
not.
Correct.
So what is
this is-
Easter
So
eggnog?
they're just
Because
This is-
there's an egg in the name, they think it's Easterish?
Well, if you own a nog factory, you can't just sell it once a year. You can't
gotta
afford,
repurpose.
Otherwise, you have to lay off your workers. So you have to come up with other. You have to make. Then this is what Peeps have taught us. This is what Peeps have taught us because there's now Peeps for every occasion.
That's
there's
true.
Easter Peeps. There's Christmas Peeps. There's Halloween Peeps. There's Thanksgiving Peeps. There's Valentine's Day Peeps. There's President's Day Peeps. Abe Lincoln Peep.
You're making that up.
why are they
That
called
one I made up.
Peeps?
Because they're chicks. They started out as the little chicks. That's what
okay.
came first.
Why is that peep?
Why does that a Peep? That would,
do they
What
make
do
that?
chicks say? What does the chick say, Skye? Beep, beep, beep.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know what a chick says?
The chicks I talk to don't do that.
Have you ever heard chicks?
Sorry, I didn't put that together.
me either.
Is it ringing any bells?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I'll go there. But
See, but then they also have the little bunnies, and they did the little
Right.
bunnies and the
And they
little
still call
Peeps.
them Peeps, which
Yeah,
makes no
yeah.
sense.
And now it's at Christmas. There's Christmas
Santas.
trees and Santas,
Okay.
and it's all out of control. So you own a nog factory. You make nog.
No, because
You make it out of eggs.
No.
So you call it eggnog, but you only sell it once a year, and then you have to lay off all your workers, and they go on
I think the
unemployment,
factory should
and they're takers, not
diversify.
makers, and you want them to be makers.
your whole premise is wrong because there's not an eggnog factory. It's a milk place like Oberweis. They make all kinds of milk, and eggnog is a kind of
They
milk.
want it, but they have one special nogger. They have a nogger who's the only one has the secret recipe, and they have to lay him off right after Christmas.
This still does not explain
and he
why
goes on.
they are making an eggnog
he
Peep.
well,
becomes a taker,
there's multiple layers of dysfunction here.
not a maker.
Lay it on us, Skye.
First of all, eggnog is not an Easter drink. Secondly, what on earth is a Peep flavored eggnog milk? I mean, that's just multiple
That
layers
just makes
of
me want to
ridiculousness.
run to the bathroom, you know?
I still can't get the image of somebody milking Peeps out of my head.
Okay.
All right.
It's been like 3 months since we've talked about bottoms.
No, Phil.
Here we go.
Phil.
And we had a good string there. We had a good run. Remember how
I
You
don't wanna
always
talk
seem
about
to bring
runs
it
and
back.
bottoms.
For whether it is the cleared bottom pants.
that was good. That was a good story. That had clear theological implications. I think Skye made a sermon metaphor
Well,
out
please
of it.
remind me what the.
I don't remember what they
Yeah.
were. You'd have to go back to Skye's sermon
And
notes.
then we've talked about
I never preached
Beyonce, and
about
we've
that.
talked about
Yes.
J Lo,
And there was so much that last year was officially declared the year of the booty by several
who?
Because there were a lot of songs. about it.
notable outlets, by several noteworthy. Okay, I said that, but anyway, it was said.
I
Is
missed
it like the
that.
Chinese year of
And
the
so this
pig? There's the
inspired-
Phil year of the butt.
Yeah,
Is kind of what you're.
Yeah, no, it wasn't me. It was someone else. This inspired science, because science is nothing if not trendy, following the trends.
Okay.
So some scientists jumped in to explain why men like women with curvy booties.
Was this a government-funded study?
This was a real study.
You know, my back is really hurting right now. I
They
think
want-
I need to go lie
I
down.
want to know
I'll be
why
back.
is it, and evolutionarily speaking, of course, they're looking at it from an evolutionary point of view and say, well, of course, men must have evolved to be attracted to curvy booties.
Can I guess at this answer?
and not baby booties.
Can I guess at this answer?
I don't know. I'm frightened.
I'm going to guess at
Okay.
this answer.
Okay, she would like to try to solve the puzzle.
Yes. It is because men want to have children and pass on their genes.
Yeah.
And a woman with a curvy body represents a very positively reproducing form.
Yes.
And so that's why instinctually they are drawn to women with curvy figures.
That is actually the theory for, in general, why men like curvy figures. That's the evolutionary theory. But this gets more specific. This gets more nuanced.
Maybe we should stop here, however.
I'm not sure we or our listeners want to get more nuanced.
They do. They do. I know they do. I feel it in my curvy booty. Over the course of human history, women faced the adaptive problem of a forwarded, shifted center of mass during pregnancy. When you're pregnant, your center of mass moves forward.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Women with a greater degree of lumbar curvature were able to redistribute this center of mass to reduce the strain of pregnancy. Thus, this is the researcher at the University of Texas, of all places, thus we hypothesize that men should have a psychological adaptation to prefer these women as mating partners. In short, you can't make this up. Male preferences for this specific anatomical form likely evolved because it enabled women to sustain multiple pregnancies without injury and to forage productively during pregnancy.
So what you're telling me is that when a man sees a woman,
sees a woman,
a
Curvy figure.
a curvy figure, he subconsciously is thinking she'd be a good forager during pregnancy.
Yes. And I think that would make a great pickup line, wouldn't it? Like you're in a bar, you say, hey, I bet you'd be a great pregnant forager.
Right.
Because that's really what you're thinking on the inside. Okay, I put this is interesting because...
Please tell me you didn't put it to the test.
No.
That's not what you were about to say, right?
I did not. We should get 10 pregnant women, send them out to forage, see who ends up with the most back pain, and then check the curvature of their lower lumbars.
My sister is pregnant. We could use her as a...
Just send her out into the woods.
And I will say she has the most curvy figure that I've just about ever seen.
They actually, for the study, more than 300 men rated the attractiveness of female silhouettes that had lumbar curvatures ranging from 26 degrees to 61 degrees. The men found a moderate curvature, about 45.5 degrees, to be just right.
So if we found yet another way women feel insecure about themselves?
Yeah.
Is that what this is really about?
I'm sorry about your lumbar. You know
what? Let me just say, doesn't it go all the way back to all the paintings in the Renaissance when women had the very curvy figures and it was
in the Renaissance, they were just a little squishy because being a little squishy was a sign that you were wealthy.
That's what it was? It wasn't that they were had curvy bottoms. It wasn't the same.
I don't think it was about foraging. I think it was about having people forage for you.
But how
and
can
then
this
feed you.
How can this work today since women don't forage?
Okay, well, then that's the question: is humanity still evolving, or have we? And that's why some people argued. Hitler, for example, as a noted scientist, that by being so supportive, so Christianly charitable to people that clearly weren't fit to live, we were disrupting evolution. We were actually ruining...
That's the eugenics idea.
Yes, we were ruining the human race by not allowing the weak to die off and the strong to survive. We've stopped evolution. Here's what I put this story, and I love stories like this. I put them under the no, not booty stories, but here's how this is explained evolutionarily. I put this under the category: if all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Because if you're a scientist today and you subscribe to the prevailing narrative, evolution is the only tool that must explain everything. There are no other tools.
So
There's
the God is
else.
the science.
What?
Science is the God. Sorry.
But even, and it's not just about rejecting God. It's there can't even be any other source of change other than mutation and then natural selection based on that mutation. So, for example, I mean, there have been articles about, well, how do you explain homosexuality or lesbianism? There's a long study on, here's how we can explain lesbianism evolutionarily, because Darwinistically, it makes no sense at all.
Right.
It seems like a complete disaster, Darwinistically.
Won't work.
So here's why lesbianism evolved, because some men died in warfare and their wives had children, and they needed to be able to bond with other women if there weren't enough men in a village. So they evolved lesbianism to support children. And see, but again, if all you have is a hammer, if all you've got is evolution, everything has to be explained evolutionarily. Now, if you actually think about this, here's what you have to say. Okay, there's a random mutation among men, numerous random mutations, creating desire for various angles of spinal curvature. It can't just be one. Yeah, it has to be like all of them. Like Fred over there, he loves 33-degree lumbar.
Right.
And this guy over here, he loves 60-degree lumbar. Oh, but those women don't forage as well, so they don't reproduce, so that dies out. So Fred and that guy don't get to pass on their DNA. That's just the craziest thing in the world. Doesn't that sound insane?
It sounds pretty insane.
You know what sounds a little bit more insane?
What? That I find this so interesting?
That it's clear you spent a lot of time this week thinking about this article.
No, this morning. Because this falls into the desire.
Actually, I'm kind of with you. Have my curiosity piqued.
Yes,
actually,
for something to create. Okay, for evolution to work, there has to be a single mutation that creates a positive benefit, that creates a higher likelihood of survival.
Right.
A single mutation. And we know from studies this is actually highly unlikely. It's very rare for a single mutation to create an improved organism.
Okay.
The vast majority of all mutations do nothing or are detrimental to the organism. So not only do you have to have the rare positive mutation, you have to have a series of mutations specifically that create attraction to different female forms. What are the odds of a gene creating a modified attraction to a female form?
Very, very
I'm
little.
sorry, that just seems insane.
I'm with you on that.
She's with me.
Okay.
I'm with
That's
him
great.
on that.
Are you?
But
You're not.
I don't know. I think it's a little more complicated than that.
Why? What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of environments I've been in, like in India, for example. In India, generally speaking, fair-skinned women or fair-skinned people in general are considered more attractive than darker-skinned people.
Why?
It's very simple, actually, and this has been true in most civilizations, because if you're very dark-skinned, it's because you are outside a lot. And if you're outside a lot, you are a laborer, you are a peasant, you are a farmer. Right. If you're fair-skinned, it's because you are inside a lot, which is a sign of wealth and status, right?
Right.
So could you envision a scenario in which somebody decides, and this is purely a social construct. Yeah. There's nothing evolutionary or genetic about it. It's just social construct. So an invading army comes into India and decides, you know what, we just are going to eradicate the dark-skinned people. We're just going to kill them. Mm-hmm. So then all that's left are light-skinned people, and all that's left are people that value light skin. Now you fast forward a couple hundred years and you go, I wonder why we value light skin so much. There must be an evolutionary explanation for this. Mm-hmm. No, it might just be that at some point in sociological history, we selected out a certain trait and eradicated it.
Right.
So there's nothing biological or scientific about it. It's sociological. And I think the same thing is true for a lot of what we consider typical male or female beauty traits. Right. It's just different cultures at different times select for them.
The same scientific narrative, is leading scientists to say, okay, well, evolutionarily speaking, how do you explain belief in God? Because obviously there is no God, and yet almost everyone believes there is. They're all wrong. Mm-hmm. Why would that be? And so then you come up with a story. Well, here's how that might have been advantageous, to survive at a certain point in time. And of course, you can't prove any of those things. Right. You can't really even research them.
Yeah, but the other side of it, to shoot a hole in this, is that there is an awful lot of human behavior which is not beneficial either to the individual or the species. and yet we continue to do it over and over and
Amen
over
to
again.
that.
Defies evolutionary explanation.
Like what?
Suicide,
Oh, okay.
war.
Yeah.
In many cases
Well,
as
war
well.
is about your tribe.
Yeah, but
My
as you
tribe
get
getting your
the
stuff.
problem is, like, a lot of people have argued since the middle of the 20th century, we've had a more global understanding of our interspecies,
Right.
kind of unity and stuff,
Right.
and yet
we are the world.
we are accelerating
people.
over the 20th century. We accelerated the number of people we killed rather than diminished
Just
it.
for a while. And then we realized that it was a really bad... Well, 'cause
So-
what you had in the 20th century was the combination of our eternal war instinct with the Industrial Revolution. And we realized, holy cow.
we kill everybody.
We can really kill a lot of people
Well, okay, then
very quickly.
Then let's go more simply. There's a pandemic, at least in the United States, of diabetes and other diet-related illnesses because we over-engage in fat, sugar,
Right, it's because
salt.
we're addicted to Peeps.
And
Peep nog.
Right, and peep nog. The argument is that, well, the human body is designed for scarcity, so when we have access to abundance, we eat a lot and we
Right.
store it as fat in our bodies. But now that we live in a society of abundance where there's no shortage of those foods for most of us,
Right.
why aren't we behaving in line with a self-preservation instinct, which
Because
is to say to exercise and eat healthy?
Because it might take thousands of years. If the evolutionary story is correct, it might take thousands of years for that to rejigger
Right.
on a large scale. I don't know. I just think it's interesting to hear all these stories of, well, here's how this evolved.
Right.
Like, well, how do you're just...
You don't know that.
You pulled that out of the
But
air.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
I
You
think they
cannot
pulled that out of
expect
their
people that...
Curvy behinds. Sorry.
That's a good one.
45.5 degree.
You can't expect people that don't have, any sort of faith or belief in God at all to have any sort of perspective other than a worldly, scientific.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's
but
hard-
perspective.
every example I just gave had nothing to do with God either.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
I think at the root of what you're saying it is because the root of all of that, in my worldview, is that it's sin. Which I'm sure is what you're saying as well.
Obviously, I would agree with that from a theological point of view, but I'm just saying every scientific explanation doesn't have to be an evolutionary scientific explanation.
Right.
There are other sciences that can explain things.
Why
Like sociology.
why
Right.
some scientists are so adamantly attached to explaining everything through Darwinian evolution is because the only alternative that's being trumpeted in the public square is creation, is God. So
Right.
which is considered anti-science, or pseudoscience. So partly, one evolutionist, said that they have to figure out how they could find life somewhere else in the universe. Why? Because the alternative is that we don't have an argument against creationists. That was literally what was motivating the
Wow.
search for life in the universe.
So
was to
that's why we go to Mars.
get creationists to shut up. Speaking of which, do creationists stand in the way of space exploration?
Boy, that was a great
Was that a
segue,
nice
Phil.
segue?
Nice job.
I know you want more stories about booties, but I'm moving on because I
I'm
think
sure
that's
you will
enough.
find more.
I think one
given enough
story
time.
every 4 or 5 months is probably enough.
We agree with you.
Okay, thank you. Do creationists stand in the way of space exploration? New research suggests that religion may shape how people view space exploration. A University of Dayton professor researched the connection between religion and views of space exploration using the 2010 General Social Survey and discovered some interesting things. Evangelicals aren't as into space exploration as everyone else. Compared to other Americans, they know less about space, they care less about space exploration, and they're less supportive of space policy. People who go to church more often are less supportive of space exploration. However, if they happen to go to a church with a pastor who speaks in favor of science, then they are more likely to be supportive.
There's a whole study on all of this.
Yes. This clergy influence is strongest among, you guessed it, evangelicals. Jews, Hindus, and Buddhists, and those with no religion, were some of the most interested advocates for space exploration. So Hindus want to go to Mars.
And Jews.
And Jews want to go to
Because
Mars.
they're Vulcans.
Evangelicals do not want to go to Mars.
Right.
What do you make of that? And I wonder if you go back 30 years, if that would be completely different. Because I suspect, here's what I suspect.
Can't wait to hear it. I think evangelicals got done with the space program after Ronald Reagan left.
Why?
Actually,
why
there
would that have
might be a
happened?
little bit of something to that.
What were we big on the space?
We were big on Ronald Reagan.
They were big on Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, and he was big on space.
He was big on space.
He was big on space.
Star Wars.
And
That wasn't space exploration.
But it was
that
a space initiative.
Let's bomb the commies from space.
And he
that
was
wasn't exploration.
he was the president during the glory years of the space shuttle program.
Yeah, but it started way back, like
but
in
I'm saying I think that was kind of the high point in general
Okay.
for the 80s were probably the high point of American enthusiasm around space exploration.
well, other than the 60s when they were actually really ready to go
But
to
then
the
it
moon.
started going. Then it kind of plateaued. And
It
then
waned
down, right.
until the 80s when Ronald Reagan was very strong on space and on defense.
See, I'm wondering if back in the 60s, 50s and 60s when we were also gung-ho, like we're going to explore space, we're going to
It was where no man had ever gone before.
I know. If everyone was universally excited about it, and then over time, and particularly in the last 20 years where big government programs are looked down on more and more
I think that's the
by
problem.
conservatives, where we like the military, but everything else we just as soon went away.
Yeah.
If space exploration, and particularly though because now you hear it spoken of sometimes in religiously antagonistic terms.
Right.
But what do you mean?
Well, we're going to discover aliens, and then, then the Bible goes out the window. People have actually said that.
Yeah. Well, I also think there's probably an eschatological component to this.
Ooh, we didn't think about that. Okay.
Lay it on us.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think the popular evangelical eschatology, at least for the last few decades, has been essentially a Left Behind eschatology, which says
Right.
This world doesn't matter, this earth doesn't matter, this cosmos doesn't matter, it's all going to burn and be destroyed, so who cares, right? And that's the same justification that's given for not being involved in any kind of creation, stewardship, environmentalism.
Right.
It's, I'll just use it, doesn't matter, it's all gonna burn anyway. And if that's your view of this present world we occupy, then why bother exploring other worlds and planets and space, and why spend the money and why the resources?
Right. See, because it's funny because actually during the space program, it was more hippies and liberals that opposed it, saying we could use that money for the poor.
Right.
And it was more conservatives about we have to show how great America is.
Right, and that's what a lot
That
of
was the Cold War stuff
Yes,
going on.
that was the Cold
and that
War
was
stuff.
Kennedy's explicit reason for wanting to go to the moon. It wasn't because he cared about the moon.
He wanted to beat
or
the
the
Russians.
science. He wanted to display to the world that American capitalism could achieve unbelievable things, so that those countries that were on the fence about which side to side with would go America's way.
There was also a very practical, reason, is because I think they understood at the time, both countries, that whoever ruled the, outside of space had the upper hand.
Outer space.
Yeah, outer space. What did I say?
The outside of space. I like
That's what was going on in your head, I could tell.
Thanks for helping me out. So whoever ruled that had the advantage militaristically.
Militaristically, yes.
Yeah.
And there's almost, whereas, see that, boy, we're making such interesting connections here that we're not rehearsed or even thought about beforehand, and are probably completely wrong. So in the 60s, you had idealists saying we should spend that money differently. We should spend it to make a better society. Today, I think you have idealists saying we can't stop dreaming and reaching. So I think there's more idealism in the desire to keep space exploration going today, because there isn't a tremendous amount of practical value.
Yes, I think there is one, though. I have heard people say they are afraid that we are going to destroy this earth that we live in, and we are going to need to go somewhere.
Yeah, that's not realistic.
That was the Interstellar plot line.
Yeah.
True.
If we all pooled all of our money together, we could probably get 5 people somewhere else. So that's really, I guess there still is the notion, well, maybe we'll come up with radically new technology someday, and we'll just be, I think we're just so romantically attached to Star Trek. We're so romantically attached to the 1960s ideal of, we'll have a United Nations someday, but it will be planetary, and we'll have neighbors.
Well, I do want to be able to transport like that. I will tell you that right now. I dream about it all the time.
Did you ever see the movie The Fly?
Yeah,
that
No.
can go horribly wrong.
No, what happens? Do you get reassembled
If there's
somewhere?
a
You don't know
fly
that
in
story?
the transporter with you,
So
Jeff Goldblum.
in the
I didn't see the movie.
So the whole concept of transportation is like all your molecules get broken down and reassembled someplace else. Well, in the fly, the guy's in this chamber that does that, but a fly goes in there too. So the fly's molecules get broken down
and combined.
and then when he gets
with
reassembled,
his.
he's like part fly.
Okay, well then I'll take that back, and
See,
I'll go
that's
with what's in the
bad.
one with Harry Potter series where you can go and through the portals.
But that's magic.
Yeah, that's magic. Do you believe in magic? Do you believe in magic?
I do have magical thinking from time to time. Okay, so what
is it
you're
that-
saying, we're attracted to Star Trek, and so we're dreaming about the future.
Yes, and we're attracted to the lumbar curvature of the moon
Hasn't
for evolutionary reasons.
Hasn't Neil deGrasse Tyson made his whole pitch for why we need to keep space exploration funded and all that? And has he given really practical reasons, or is it this romantic ideal
remember.
of we're meant to explore? And,
I think it's more the drive to discover, which is good.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's mostly coming from people who are interested in space. You
Well,
mean
duh.
the drive to discover in space,
Yeah.
as opposed to in the human body.
well,
or
and
at
that's
the
why
bottom
I
of
think
the
this
sea.
study is interesting, because if it's saying evangelicals are the least likely
Yeah.
to be supportive of that, why?
well, that was what I was going to ask you next.
Uh-oh.
Hey,
But Craig Doherty is calling, so
you can't do that.
I didn't turn it off.
no, yeah. So okay, let's look at his study and say, all right, well, if it truly is true that evangelicals are the least down on space, why would that be?
Well, here's okay, the last part of the survey. Even after taking into account a bunch of other religious factors, people who don't believe that evolution is true.
Oh, here we go again.
Take that group specifically, are less knowledgeable about space and science, less supportive of space policy, less interested in space, and less likely to see science as beneficial for society. That's kind of a biggie.
Are these people who also don't go to the pharmacy or the doctor?
No, I think they probably do. Well, some of them don't. No,
Or
Did
drive
like
cars.
the lady who was praying for her husband not to die in Canada. Did we talk about that story?
These are the same people who pray too close to their fajitas.
She was praying for her husband not to
What
die.
evangelicals are
and-
they talking about?
And he slipped into a coma, and so she sealed the door shut on his bedroom and put tape over all the vents and just kept praying for him for 6 months.
Ew.
Well,
And-
he
and
was
he
slowly
died.
rotting.
But this is in Canada.
It was in Canada. She says, I realize now that was wrong.
This sounds
'Cause
like
she
a
was
woman
arrested.
who may not be all
Not
there.
reporting a death.
Right.
It was her religious belief that
God would raise him from the dead.
would heal him.
Heal him.
Yeah, so there obviously is that, but most evangelical Christians
Well,
do benefit from science. I think there's
and I don't think they would say it's bad.
it's part of it's part of our mistrust of secular experts. You know, why are we rejecting global warming? Why are we rejecting, all these different things? It's the experts say. Why are people rejecting vaccinations for their kids? Oh, the experts say you're supposed to do it, but my friend on Facebook says you're not. And I trust my friend on Facebook more than I trust the experts.
Okay.
Because the experts
But
are
why is that
anti-God.
unique to evangelicals?
Because the
That's-
experts are anti-God. Because Christianity is what's being rejected by the same people who are proposing global warming and evolution. And that we're all going to live on Mars someday, and there was probably life there once.
So what experts do you think evangelicals support? Because there's experts in every
Rush
field.
Limbaugh, Fox News.
Wow.
I like Tim Keller.
But that is a really, really, really narrow definition.
Yeah, well, we don't.
of-
Yeah, I know. Our circle of experts has shrunk. Of
Well,
people
it's a
we
narrow
trust. It's
definition
about
of
trust.
what evangelicals
Yeah.
are in the first place
Yeah,
that
it
really
is.
bothers
It
me.
is a cultural definition, though, because that, unfortunately, in our culture, evangelical has become synonymous with politically conservative
Yes, it
and
has.
culturally conservative.
Which is why you think we need to reject the term.
Well, I think the term has been very, very polluted.
We had a
Yeah.
podcast about that already.
We did, didn't we? So what did we learn?
Well, we did not solve a thing. I will tell you that.
What did we learn? Conservative Christians aren't into space travel, even though they once were, whereas liberal Christians are probably into it more now than they once were.
But
says somebody who did this study who.
Hey, it's based on the general. It's based on government,
but
it's not. It wasn't a study done by this person. It was collecting data from the 2010 General Social Survey, which is a government survey.
The caveat to
massively.
the research, though, was that if you are an evangelical in a church with a pastor who is pro-science,
Yes.
you are more likely to be pro-science, which is a whole other layer of complication, which is that evangelicals seem to actually be influenced by their ecclesiastical leaders.
Now, to say this, some of my friends that are the most avidly young Earth creation are extraordinarily interested in science. Absolutely love science, are living in kind of an alternative science, but they love thinking about science and wouldn't be opposed to space travel. I think there's more a general population, and I can kind of picture them in my head because I know a lot of them from churches I've attended in the past, of people who are living in discomfort at the way the country is going culturally and have put science into the pot.
As a part of the problem.
Yes, of elements. There's Hollywood, there's Washington, D.C., and there's scientists.
You know what's amazing?
That are dragging America in the wrong direction.
Is that viewpoint is literally 100 years old.
Really?
What are you talking about,
People were
Skye?
saying that 100 years ago about Darwinian evolution, about the expansion of government. Ooh, that's my wife. Can't answer that right now.
You could. There is an off button.
Yeah, but then I can't do taco.
Oh, yeah, taco.
Well, I guess I could put it on
So
Airplane mode.
airplane mode.
There was
sorry.
a point to the mechanical taco.
Yeah, so anyway, 100...
What happened to my real taco?
He's sitting over there on the chair.
I'm putting it
He's
on
listening to the
airplane
podcast.
Okay, so anyway, 100
Yeah.
years ago, people were saying Hollywood, the entertainment industry was bad. This is when Christians said, we're not going to movies anymore, we're not going to theater, you don't do any of that stuff, you don't go to clubs and dance.
Movies hadn't really taken off.
I know, but
100
entertainment,
years ago.
I'm saying the entertainment industry.
Yes, it was vaudeville.
Right.
It was
Well,
vaudeville
entertainment
and
was bad.
Burlesque.
Science was bad because this is when evolution in the late 1800s, early 20th century was
Yeah.
beginning to be, propagated and taught in schools.
Yeah.
And there was a suspicion about government. And particularly in the South, post-Civil
Yeah.
War, where the federal government was inherently evil. So these are not new ideas in American Christianity. They just keep on going with new forms and new boogeymen.
They're rejiggered, as Phil says.
Oh, man, we've rejiggered it. All right, which story most intrigued you today? Are you going to be careful before you pray for your fajitas?
Yes.
Are you going to run right out and try Peeps
No.
flavored milk? Although milking a peep, that's another challenge to be taken up.
You can milk anything with nipples.
Are you fascinated at...
Where in the world? Why in the world?
That's from
Would
Meet
you-
the Fockers.
Meet the Fockers, remember that? No, it was from Meet the Parents.
Meet the Parents. That was Robert.
I was
De Niro.
actually
Niro.
in Meet the Fockers.
What?
What?
Yeah. No, Meet the Parents. I was in Meet the Parents with Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller.
How have we not known this? Well, how were you in that movie?
Well, that's because I ended up on the cutting room floor. So I
you
guess
were
technically
not
you're
actually
not
I
in
was
it.
not
You're
actually
not
in
in
it.
it.
But I spent an entire day walking next to Ben Stiller.
At the airport? Was it the airport?
No,
scene?
it was on Michigan Avenue.
Are you fascinated by the idea that you may find your wife attractive because of the curvature of her lumbar and the fact that she could forage while pregnant? That's just the best pickup line ever.
Not.
Oh, man. And do you resent space because of your religious convictions? These are the things we're wrestling with today on the Phil Vischer podcast, which is why there's no other place you should turn to for hard-hitting news.
Hey, but you know what? You entertained us for today.
Thank you. Yes, we're taking a break from the heavier stuff.
A lot of times you just need a little bit of fun.
And we gotta. I have to plug my devotional.
Oh, yes. It's
again.
time to plug in the devotional.
It's time for our sponsor.
And let me start that off by saying that for a week my email was down and I wasn't getting your devotionals. And there was a hole in the discussions in our family because we weren't receiving your devotionals and talking about them. So I highly recommend, if you haven't tried the devotional yet, it's only $1.99 a month.
So what you're saying is that in every family there is a With God Daily Devotional shaped hole that only it can fill.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll go with that.
So, hey, if you are interested in getting the daily devotional, you can sign up on my website, skyjatani.com/devo. And we're going through this series in Lent on the Stations of the Cross. So if you put in the promo code LENT, all capital letters, LENT, you can get half off. So check it out.
Is that half off just for the month or the whole year?
It's half off, I believe, either the first month or for 2 months. Like, it was supposed to be a half off during Lent, at the beginning of Lent, which is about a month and a half.
Does it come with a free carton of Peeps flavored milk?
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be fantastic.
It would be fantastic. But
Get
half
on
off
that.
means it's like 98 cents, guys. It's not, and it'd be a great way for you to at least support me and my part of this podcast. If not you guys, I'll take you out to lunch.
Oh, go tell your cousin Rita not to pray over her fajita, 'cause it'll burn her face and it'll spill on her lap, and then she'll want to sue Applebees in court, which isn't very Christian. And I think she still won't go on a space mission because her conservative tendencies have led her to distrust experts that say, in God we don't trust, and we want to send your marshmallow milk-flavored Peeps to Mars. All right, see you next week.
See you next week.